You're tuned into the Talking Shed. Hey, today I want to show you guys how to assemble your Martin ACCR row cleaners. So everything that you need to assemble one row of row cleaners is in a box. We're going to get this thing unboxed and show you how to assemble them when you receive them. So of course, we're going to rely on the ACCR 1360 manual that is provided from Martin in each box. There's a couple things I want to note while we've got this open. If you look at this, there's two sets of holes on each side. And I get a lot of questions on which one should I use. The top one is only for Case 1200 series planters. So if you're not a Case 1200 guy, you're for sure in the bottom. In the bottom, we have three options, and we choose our hole based on how we want those wheels to run. If we want them interlocked, we're going to go in what would be called number 2, which would be the second one from the front. If we want them offset, we're going to put one side in number 4, which is the back, and one side in number 1, which is the front, so that they're offset. One's leading and one's trailing. Also, now that we've designated that I'm not a Case 1200 and that I'm going to interlock my wheels, I know that I'm going in hole number 2 on each side so that these wheels interlock. It is important to note that there are lefts and rights to these wheels. Really, that's just designated by flipping the wheel. And a good rule of thumb is, as this wheel rolls, you want the point pointing up in the air. You don't want it pointing forward or down. So being that if this wheel goes on this side, it has to go like this. If it goes on this side, you would have to flip it and go like that. Here's a bolt here. Slip it in underneath and just hold it with one hand. And then I got my treader wheel that's going to fit on there. And I go ahead and nut that one. And of course I repeat that again, just putting all these bolts in from underneath on the tub and going ahead and putting the nuts in them. And before long, you'll have a finished assembled wheel. So now that you've got the assembled wheel, you'll go ahead and tighten those down with the 9/16 on the impact, and then we're going to go ahead and put it on the chassis. Okay, so now I've got this wheel completely assembled. The next step is to go ahead and get the large bolt out of the bag. It's got Loctite on it, the blue Loctite, you can see that. And then you're going to grab one of these Dlocks. Box, you have the option of 2 different Dlocks. You've got this big scraper D-lock, and then you just have a standard D-lock. What this does is this keeps the hub and bearing assembly from spinning. It basically locks it once you put it on there. These are highly recommended in high residue and cover crops, conditions where you need a scraper. These come in handy. Standard conditions, I just use this regular D. So basically I've got my chassis here. I know I'm going in the lower hole on this bottom side, so I have to take this D clip and line it up right there. You can see that it just sits on there. I'll take this D clip, I'll spin the wheel. This is where the 15/16 ratchet wrench comes in handy. So as you can see, I've got this blade spinning the correct direction. As it spins forward, the sharp or the pointed edge is pointing up and back. Okay, so now I've got both wheels on, both wheels tightened, and you can see that these wheels interlock very well. I like the interlocking quite a bit because the wheels kind of drive each other, especially if you're going into cover crops and high residue with the razor wheels. If you interlock those razor wheels, that is the ultimate row cleaner. It is a complete metal, basically plow that residue cannot jam up in there. Whereas if you offset them, some residue can slide up in there and lock up your row cleaners. But I really like the interlocking mechanism that Martin has on their row cleaners. It is a big reason why I like the ACCR row cleaner. But as you can see here, there's not a lot of assembly that has to be done. You just have to bolt on the hub, the blade, and the treader wheel. What is left in the bag unopened is the bolts that you will use to bolt it onto your planer. Which one you have, just rely on the manual. It tells you in there which bolts and which holes that you're going to use. There's 4 bolts and nuts in here to bolt it up to your planer. I do suggest, I mentioned earlier, maybe throwing it in a vise. What's pretty easy also is just throwing the entire chassis up on the planer and bolting it up first, and then bolting the wheels and hubs on. That way it's tightly secured and you can work on it really well there. But as you can see, these interlock really well, everything works. You are also left with a little pin that is designed to go up top here and hold your air cylinder if you want to put an air cylinder in here. The way these ACCRs work, you put an air cylinder straight up and down. This pin will go right here. There's a bolt that goes in the bottom, and basically that air cylinder moves the chassis straight up and straight down as you adjust it to get very accurate and precise adjustments on those row cleaners. I really like the design of these. They're parallel linkage. They are rather economical compared to some others on the market. I do think this is the best valued row cleaner out there. So call Fending Equipment if you need help with your Martin row cleaners. We have somewhere in 150 of these in stock today, and it's something that we can help you with. We've got the razor wheels and the finger wheels in stock. I hope this video helps you on how to assemble your Martin ACCR 1360 or 1345 row cleaners. If you do not use an air cylinder, your depth stop is right here. It's kind of hard to see, but you tighten and loosen this bolt to basically set the bottom. They can't float any lower than that bolt is set, but they can always float up. As far as long-term maintenance, there is a grease zerk on the inside of these hubs here to grease. That's maybe a once a season operation. So that's it for the Martin ACCR floating row cleaner and assembling it in your shop. Again, if you need anything else from Fending Equipment, be sure and give us a call. Thanks for tuning in.